Next thing we'll do is we'll take our square and we'll put it right on each one of these lines and make a mark. That way we know that our joists will be straight up and down. Again, I'm marking this with a line straight down with an X on the side. When I pull my square away, I can tell that this is the edge of my joist, and my joist is on this side because that's where the X is. And if you want to get fancy, you can just come over 1.5 inches and make the mark here. Okay, we're laid out. Now we'll cut our joists and lay them in. Well, we've laid out our rim joist on that side of the foundation, and we started at this side. And we pulled all the way back, and remember I said that we were going to measure it so we're going to hit every 16 inches but come back 3/4 of an inch. The worst thing in the world you can do is get mixed up and start pulling your layout from the other side and then putting in your joists, and you're going to find out immediately that something's off. So you have to remember, always lay out from the same side. So since I started there on my rim joist, I'm going to start here on my mudsill. People say, what is a mudsill? Mudsill is just a term they use. Mud is a slang term for concrete. A lot of people say, I'm going to pour mud today. Well, when they say pouring mud, they mean concrete. And a sill is just a sill. It's just a sill like a windowsill. So someone came up along the way and said, mudsill. So other than that, that's the best term that I can figure out for why they call it a mudsill. Back to layout here. I'm going to come to 16 inches like I said before and come back 3/4 of an inch, make my X. Come to my next layout point, which is 32. Mark 3/4 back and make my X. I'll just do that all the way across here. Every time I see one of these arrows. Now don't get confused, because as you're coming along here looking for these arrows on your tape measure, 48 is one of those layouts. And what you commonly do, occasionally some people do, is they'll see these big arrows here and they'll accidentally, at the end of the day when they're tired, they'll mark off at 5 feet by accident or something. Because the big arrows on top are for the foot. The little arrows along the way here are for layout. And 48 just happens to have one of both, a big arrow and a small arrow. So just kind of, when you're going to do a layout, take a deep breath, relax, and do it right the first time, because it will really cause you trouble. If you nail pieces in the wrong place and have to take out the nails, it's no fun at all. Here's an instance where I've gotten to my layout point, and if I come 3/4 of an inch back, I'm hitting my bolt. So what I'll do is, instead of going back 3/4 of an inch, I'll go this way 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll put my X on the other side. So I'll go beyond my layout point 3/4 of an inch, make a mark, and then put my X on the near side. On this one, I hit it on, I did my layout back, and I went back 3/4 of an inch and did my X like I did all the way along. But on this one, I can't do it because the bolt's in the way. So I went beyond my layout point 3/4 of an inch and put my X on the back side. Okay? So down there, I'll have my line on this side with my X on that side, and over here I'll have my line on this side and my X on that side. It'll all work out in the end. Now I'm just going to continue the lines out that I've made for my layout. Just so I have a really good mark to go to. No confusion here where those floor joists are going to go. It'll be very easy to see. And again, if you're doing this and say you lay it out and then you come back in 3 days and the sun's been beating on it and the rain's been hitting it and whatever, if you make a nice big line like this, you'll still be able to see it. So let's lay some floor joists. This is what you'll run into occasionally. You'll run into where you're putting a joist in and a bolt will be in your way. And naturally on our very first joist that we're going to put in across here, we run into this. Don't let it throw you, it's real easy. All you do is you slide your joist all the way back to your rim joist. You run your joist over and you just make a real simple little mark on your joist. I'll just make a straight cut here, and knock it out with my hammer. Nothing fancy. You know, you can make it big enough to miss the whole washer if you like. It's not going to mess up the integrity of the board. This board is sitting on the foundation across here. It's as solid as it's going to get. So, you know, if you had very small floor joists like 2x6s, you might be a little careful about how much you hog out. But here we have 2x10s, and these 2x10s aren't going to be hurt by just cutting out a portion at the bottom. And that's all you do. Slide this in place. And you see that drops right over that nut. Okay. Head down here to the rim joist. We'll nail it at the rim joist first, and then we'll toenail it down to the mudsill along the way. And from that point on, we can just go ahead and start laying in our joists on layout. What I'm going to do now is slide my joist up to my rim joist. I'm going to nail from my rim joist back into my joist here. It's just going to tie this corner together, and then I'll be able to toenail this joist down. Now this joist is acting a little bit like a rim joist because it's right on the edge of the concrete. But the two being tied together and toenailed down into the mudsill will make a real strong structure. I'm going to toenail this rim joist, this joist first, so when I nail from the rim joist into it, it won't move. A little trick of the trade, if you're nailing at the end of a board and you're close to the end, sometimes when you nail that board it'll split. One way to keep a board from splitting is you dole the head of the nail. You put your nail head onto something hard and just tap the nail. It'll flatten the tip out a little bit, and that tends to make the wood not split. On a 2x10 like this, I'll put 4 nails in it. 2x8, 3 or 4, 2x6, at least 3, and a 2x4, 2. On this edge joist, all I'm doing is I'm just lining it up with the mudsill on the side, and because I already know that my mudsill is lined up with the concrete. Sometimes when you toenail, it'll pull the board over, so it's always good to have the board out just a tad before you toenail it and suck it in.
Home Improvement Camp. Have at it.